September 9th, 2020 City Council meeting order. We have Commissioner Bankson will give us the invocation, the pledge, and the fact of the day.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today, and we're very grateful and thankful again to live in this great nation and in this great city of Apopka. We ask for your wisdom and for your blessing and for your guidance today as we seek to make decisions that are best for all of the people. Lord, we just give you honor and glory in this place, and we thank you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On September 9th, 1776, the Continental Congress formally declared the name of the new nation to be the United States of America in a congressional declaration. This replaced the term United Colonies, which had been in general use. The delegates wrote that in all continental commissions and other instruments where heretofore the words United Colonies have been used, the style be altered for the future to the United States. What had been a varying group of colonies was now a country, and the new name reflected this new nation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. Need approval of the minutes. This is just for the August 19th meeting. We will have next week. We'll have the rest of we're a little bit behind based on, Linda retiring and Susan taking up that, as well as, the election, trying to get all those things in order. So we'll have all the rest of the back to the last time. So anyway, need a motion to approve or any changes or additions, subtractions?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, presentation, Apopka Youth Works. So this will be Dr. Jackson and Robert Agrusa. This is going to be a recap of the summer program, which was amazingly
hard to believe. Well, good afternoon, Mayor Nelson and commissioners. My name is Robert Agrusa. I have the honor and privilege to serve as the president of the Apopka Area Chamber of Commerce, and it really is nice to be here today, to be here in front of you all. I know I've seen one off with each of you over the last several months, but it is nice to be here in person with each of you today. So I just wanted to give you guys an update, obviously, on the Apopka Youth Works program, but I also want to give you a couple updates on our partnership with the Apopka Area Chamber. So I'm going to tie it all in together here, so just kind of give you guys all one big update. As you all know, on January 1st, we started our partnership between the City of Apopka and the Apopka Area Chamber, and we have some great news to share. First, I wanted to let you all know that the Chamber has successfully secured $25,000 in private funding towards our economic development partnership. As you can recall, we had an agreement that we were going to raise $15,000 from the private sector, so we're excited that we have now surpassed that goal in the light of the challenges that this year has actually faced for us. So we have now 5 members as part of our founding council for our Economic Development Council, and I want to just recognize each of those companies who helped restart this effort in light of all of the challenges of this year. And that includes the Benj Development Corporation, the Coca-Cola Company, Collier Companies, Mullinex Ford, and Seacoast Bank. And so I really want to say thank you to each of them for their investment in this partnership that we're building together with our business community and, of course, within our city. And then secondly, I wanted to let you all know that we have begun our bids on the website development that we're going to be starting for our economic development page. And so that are going to help with the expansion and recruitment of businesses into the Apopka area, and then along with the retention and now recovery of businesses within our community. As we know, many of our businesses have faced some very significant challenges in the light of COVID-19. But now to the Apopka Youth Works program. So in this summer, we worked in conjunction with the City of Apopka and Dr. Jackson, and then also with Career Source Central Florida, which is why I wanted to rep their mask here today with them, obviously to host the Apopka Youth Works program. And for those who have not heard about it before, it's a phenomenal program where high school students between the ages of 16 and 18 years old have an opportunity to work with a business to learn those trade skills and those opportunities that they may not have had at that particular age. And so, this year, when we started the year, we had 14 businesses signed up to participate as of March 1st. Now, that was obviously pre-COVID. So when COVID happened, it made the excitement among many of our businesses much more challenged. And as you are probably aware, liability became a primary concern for many of our businesses to participate in the program, along with a general sense of comfort level. Many of them had been working remotely, and even when they were returning to work, some of them in the June and July months, were just uncomfortable bringing someone else within their environment that had already been there before. So in all, we ended up having 12 total businesses participate in this year's program, but I'm excited about 3 in particular because there were 3 new participants that had not participated in any of the years past. First is Ace Hardware, the second is the Orlando Law Group, and the last is Fast Signs here in Apopka. And today I brought with me here Florence Knight, who is an attorney with the Orlando Law Group, and she was the direct supervisor for the student in the program. And she's going to provide just a short testimony about her experience with the program and some of the things she saw with it. And so if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and our team at the Apopka Area Chamber. And we very much appreciate your partnership and your support. And we look forward to continuing this program into the future. So Florence, if you want to come on up here.
Hello, my name is Florence King, and I'm one of the attorneys at the Orlando Law Group. And I just want to take a few moments to share my experience with the Apopka Youth Work Program. So as a law firm, we had never had a high school intern or work with a law firm. So we were used to having law students work with us, and so we weren't really sure what to expect with a high school student. And to add to the excitement, I would say, of the program, when the student entered, the student that we had intern with us, she had also not requested to work with a law firm, so that added to the excitement. So when she showed up to the door, she actually said, "This is not what I requested, but it's a paycheck, so I'm here." So it was a very interesting start to the experience. So we weren't sure, but we were like, hey, we wanted to join the program. Let's see where it goes. So we were like, okay, let's see. And so we decided, okay, let's see what the program is about, and we'll take it from there. So we didn't have high expectations. She didn't have high expectations, but we were like, okay, let's start with day one and go from there. But as we went through the program, I was like, okay, well, what can we do from here on to, see where we can take this program? So she was there for a paycheck, and we knew that. And we were like, okay, but what can we do to help this student? So I asked her, well, what would have been her ideal job? And she told us what her expectations were, what she wanted to achieve in life. And so I told her, nobody gets everything they want in life. That is just how life works. It would be great if that's how life works. We were in the middle of a pandemic. She was explaining how school had changed and how life was tough. And I like, well, that's how life works. And so I said, we can either take this as you are in this situation, you can either quit and go home and not take advantage of what you've been given, or you can take this as a life experience and make the best of it. And I said, as a person that has gone through life, and you will go through these challenges in life, you've been given an opportunity to learn from it. And we took it. I spoke to several of my colleagues, and I said, we've been given an opportunity here to help this student, to show her how she can grow from this, and to teach her a path that she can take. And I said, this is an amazing program that is giving these children an opportunity to learn, and we see these in college dropouts. We focus so much in school on getting kids to college, but then we don't teach them what to do once they get there. Or once they graduate college, how do they go from there, from graduating college to get to a workplace, and how to sustain their life there. And this program, I feel, helps them bridge that gap. And so we took this opportunity to help this student and say, hey, here's your opportunity now. So this is where you want to go, but this is the chance you've been given. So let's help bridge that gap. What are the experiences you can gain here that can help you get there? Or what are the other life experiences that you didn't think that you could learn from here? So we are lawyers, But guess what? A law firm doesn't have only lawyers. We have administrative staff, we have marketing staff, we have counselors. Learn from all of them. And we gave her the opportunity to sit with our social media staff, our legal secretaries, our attorneys, our marketing staff, and she got the opportunity to learn from everybody. She ended up writing several articles. She ended up joining several of our counseling sessions, and that first week was her hardest week. By the end of the 5 weeks, she actually ended up writing her college entrance essay. She ended up giving gifts to all of the staff and ended up with a college entrance recommendation letter and writing thank you notes to every single person in the office. So I feel like, we were able to help her and mentor her, and she entered with a frown and exited with a smile, which I feel was the whole purpose of this program. And so for us, we feel like that is what the whole point of this program is, allowing children to gain experiences that they won't get in other programs, and allowing businesses to not have that financial burden of having to have to worry about having to pay these interns, but allowing to give back to the communities and support these children and providing youth an opportunity to learn different aspects of career paths and wondering, okay, well, I think I want to do this, but is it really the path for me? What other opportunities are out there? And learning that life is not all about just one path. I may want this, but that's not always going to be available for you, but make the best of all the opportunities you have. That's what I have.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Well, thank you. Appreciate that. That's a great testimony. Thank you so much. Thanks, Robert.
Mayor and council, it's those types of stories that just warm my heart and what has kept me motivated for these past 6 summers. So thank you so much for your participation. We truly appreciate it. So year 6, here's just some stats for you all to look over. So this year we had 139 participants. Last year we only had 113. So we were able to gain 26 additional students. We had 12 business partners, as Robert just outlined for you all. Because of the current pandemic, we were virtual for the most part. So the students were able to do virtual internships. They did the Explore program and the Accelerate program. As you can see, that is the total amount of wages that the students were able to gain. This year, we did lower their pay. They weren't that happy at first. However, it benefited them, I think. In the past, we've had some students show up to work and they would brag about how much they made. They were making $12 an hour, which was more than some of their supervisors. So we did decrease it down to $10 an hour. Also, the students were able to earn some incentives. The program cost, the city was able to contribute $30,000. You can see the city, the investment from Career Source was $850,000, and the total program cost was $338,850. We weren't able to have a student come in today. Today is their early day, and also with many of them, they're just getting back in the swing of school. But we do have a student that was able to record a video.
Hello, my name is Ashton Reed. This past summer, I have worked with wonderful people and learned so many things inside of the Accelerate coding program. I have worked with Dr. Pizarro and Mr. Shattuck, and they have both taught me so many things when it comes down to coding, IT, and even a little bit more about computer programming. Thank you, Career Source, for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone I know. Thank you.
So you may have missed his name, but that was Ashton Reed. Ashton enjoyed the coding program this summer. He was just stating how he really enjoyed his time. One thing that I want to make sure that we thank Career Source, they have just been a staple in this program. If you all remember, year 1, we had 32 students, and to now have 139, and just their financial contribution has just been immense. Thank you so much. Jason Leitz is here with us. Jason, do you mind standing? Thank you, Jason.
Come on down, Jason.
every year Jason assigns staff members to help me, and it helps ease the stress of trying to do my normal job and also to add on this program, and I'm so thankful. Any words you want to say, Jason?
Yeah, it's dangerous to give me the mic because I am completely just thrilled about the program, number one, but two, the impact that we're making to the lives of these young adults that we're so gracious or so fortunate to be able to assist. When I got put into this program, this is about 3 years ago or so, and had the opportunity to work with Dr. Jackson, I was completely blown away. Just her dedication to the project and to the area and to the young adults definitely helps fuel my fire. So the same thing that you were mentioning, is something that really resounds. This year we had unprecedented challenges, just like the same things that you guys deal with. Like nobody could have ever predicted it. And the one thing, Dr. Jackson asked, like, what's this going to do to our program? And I'm responded back, we're going full tilt. We're all in. If this is a poker match, all our chips are on the table. Because I just can't, the amount of traction we have in the area, I can't let that die. And working together, and then working with the chamber to be able to open up some new opportunities, and we were able to craft a very innovative solution for those that couldn't get a traditional internship and still be able to provide a learning and development opportunity for these young adults as we're going forward. So one, I want to say thank you to the city, thank you, Mayor, for your dedication to make sure that this happened was, immense, and to Dr. Jackson, to the chamber, to everybody involved. Just really, really pleased about the numbers we were able to produce, but more importantly about the future that we're going to help these young adults achieve because of this experience that we're continually able to provide for them. So thank you guys very much.
Well, Jason, to you and all your team, we really appreciate this commitment and the partnership that we've been able to form, and so we expect many more years of continued success. So thank you so much, and thank the team.
Absolutely, thank you, and also thank you to our wonderful worksite partners. I mean, that testimonial was. If we could have individuals like you, that's exactly what we're looking for, is the mentorship aspect of how we're going to be developing these young adults. So thank you as well.
Okay, awesome, thanks. All right, next up, the Historical Society. Who's okay?
Hello.
Hi there.
On behalf of the Apopka Historical Society and our president, Francina Boykin, we welcome you to our local war hero presentation. My name is Maribel Brinkle, and I am the VP of the museum. I'd like to thank the city of Apopka for their support, especially Ed Bass, our city administrator, for working along with us. There is a person behind all the research that was done for this presentation. She's a long member of our community. Her name is Phyllis Olmsted. She possesses a doctorate degree in education, MED, and AA. She has lectured on 5 continents and published in academies worldwide. She has researched in many fields. Dr. O was reared at a farm in Plant City and studied agriculture, education at Hillsborough Community College, then University of Florida, and she graduated from University of Central Florida also. She taught agriculture in public school and then academics. She also did long-distance education with OCPS, and back in the 1990s when COVID wasn't around. Dr. O has owned retail businesses, including in our city of Apopka, and she has had online publishing companies. She is a history researcher at the global and local level. She loves learning about real people's lives and experiences, and relating them to others, like people that is addicted to reality TV. Her motto is aspire to inspire before you aspire.
Thank you.
She is also a humanitarian, and lately she has published the book, Perry Slim's book. You can find at the museum and also through our website, apopkamuseum.com, or you can link it through the website at the Apopka City. So let me present to you Dr. O. Take it away, Dr. O.
Thank you. I guess I need to put this back on if I'm going to get too close. You'll recognize this out of your father's book shed. As soon as your mother took it out and handed it to me a couple of years ago, the pristine rice paper decided it didn't want to be moved. But that was given to your father the day he joined Rotary. And it has his attendance requirements, which he met fully for 62 years, and he made his final makeup meetings with me on a regular basis. So he taught me a lot. The Apopka Historical Society research to date has found many Apopka area residents, employees, or students who fought and died in wars or hostile events in or for the United States of America. We are creating memorial signs for these 32 men that we have indicated, and they fought from 1862 to 2007 and died for us. And they're from the greater Apopka area, and they either played here, worked here, or went to school here. The first related death was in 1862 to 2007. Information on these men can be found at the museum, on apopkamuseum.com, or in the Facebook page Apopkan History. A number of our heroes' families corroborated their service. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what we're going to do to recognize their family members. They're either online or they're going to be watching the video once we post it of today's meeting to find out. You can see, oops, it is moving without being touched. There were 6 streets that I've identified that could be taken care of. These 4 went off to war with John Land. Oops, where is it going? I didn't touch anything, I swear. Ah, okay. It wasn't timed when I did it. These 4, even though it doesn't identify them, are people who died in World War II. I think 3 of them were never returned to the United States. 2 others were more recent wars, and Jason Dwelly and Joey McGuckin. One was Korea and one was, or Vietnam, and one was more recent. This is the sign design that we've come up with that would tell when they died, and it would be on top of it. This is very typical of a historical society design that's all around. If you even go to Sanford, you will see that they have a historical district marked. Orlando has historical district marks, very, very similar to this. Marking their areas or marking a historical home, a site, or a direction. This is Delk and McFarling, which is Mark McFarland in our cemetery. These stones are actually in our old cemetery. When you go to Griffin and Bailey, they were from the town of Apopka City, and they were Spanish-American War. Austin Bennett, these are his deeds to his property here in Apopka that he owned. And there were other properties that he owned in the area. And this was, again, the Spanish-American War. Dick Wells was the first of our World War II people, and his father is actually responsible for the renaming of the building you're sitting in, helped rename it from Apopka High School to Apopka Memorial High School. And the reason this building was named Apopka Memorial High School was to memorialize the men who died, the 5 men who died during the war. He was involved in the school board. His son died in the English Channel, and he was not recovered. Martin was the pilot, commander of the Confederate Clipper that went down with 10 souls on board in the Mediterranean Sea. And he learned to fly in Apopka, and He went to Stetson University and did not finish the degree because he went off to war. Martin Street is named after him, even though it's not realized. PFC Harvey Caldwell, that's what we would like to see his street look like. His brother would like to live to see that sign put up. His name is Harvey Caldwell. Harold Caldwell hitchhiked away one day to enter the war, and he never saw him again. Harvey was a 16-year-old pro softball player here, the youngest softball player. Good friend of John Land, Harold was. And they were two houses down across from Edwards Field on Highland Avenue at the time. And he'd like to live long enough to see this sign go up. He was in France, and finally, after the war, after John went to visit him, John remained in France, actually for the Nuremberg trials, after all of his other friends came home, the Apopkins came home, and he actually got to visit his buddy's grave in France, told me about it, and then when he returned after that, then Harold Caldwell was returned to this grave here in Apopka. Classmate of John Land and Dick Wells, Jack Grossenbacher has a memorial stone parallel to Martin's Memorial Street. His squadron was shot down over Germany, and his body was returned to Apopka where he's buried. Grossenbacher and Land were roommates at the university for 2 years before the U.S. entered the war, and they had to leave the university. Machinist mate William Hudson, John Land told me, was one of his biggest heartaches because he couldn't go visit him after the war, during the war when he was over there, because he went down near Guam, and his body was never recovered. He still remains at sea in Guam, as two of the other men remain near Europe, and John Land was most sorrowful that he was never able to say goodbye. And so he's recognized as others in this list on the tablet at Punch Bowl in Hawaii and the U.S. Pringle recognition in Washington, D.C. Arnold was the first of the Korean War. He is recognized at Arlington National Cemetery, where our Miss Apopka 2016 performs on a regular basis. And she is going to be doing as much photography as she can of our different men that are there once the place reopens. And then we have, this is Joey, Uncle Joey, to some of our patrons here. They love him very much, and they just talk about him. He, again, is a POW MIA from the Korean War, and on Facebook, they just blow all over him. And he is one that gets a lot of attention online when they talk about him. Another POW MIA is Raymond A. Ferguson. He, again, disappeared. They sometimes captured them and then did not return remains. Jimmy Holloway was another enlistee. This one is very poignant to a few of us. He was orphaned as a child and given to his grandfather. Then his grandfather died when he was young, and he was put in orphanage. And then he was captured, and the Koreans put him in a train, and they took him in a train to a tunnel. They left them in a tunnel in those cattle cars, and they all asphyxiated in the cattle cars after 24 hours. He had saved several of his people, and they had put him up for a commendation, a Congressional Medal of Honor, but he didn't live to get it. So he is this one really hurts some of us that have studied him. Charles Kicklighter, he had a family member who was a judge here in the area. Arthur Paul Nolan. Some of these Winter Guard men actually went to private schools here in Apopka. They came over here and attended school. This one is another one in Arlington National Cemetery. And again, he was from physical, born and enlisted in Winter Garden, but families had businesses, and they were here in the area. Elton Edward Smoke was the one, and then Todd Blanton Todd, he was in the Tiger Death March. Tony N. Williams died also in 1951. Some of these were born and went back to where they were born to be buried. They weren't buried here. He died, this one died, had first served in World War II and then went back and served there. Then we have Eugene Brown. You see him with his children and his wife when they were dating in high school here. We do have the high school yearbooks that you can look at in the museum also. George William Carter was a real famous one online. People really talk about him. Again, POW, MIA, never returned. We don't have his body here, his family. Now this is Uncle Joey again. This was another Uncle Joey. And the picture on the left, and memorialized online, he must have played Army when he was young, because when that picture is memorialized, it says, "We're in the real Army now," when they show that picture anywhere. And then we have Earl Philip Summersill. He has a huge family here, and if you remember, we had an accident where a Summersill was killed, one of the 3 teenagers killed on New Year's Day. This was an uncle. And so that is those. Jerry James Tucker, another Apopka boy. So you see that we have so many that went off to fight, but none of us know about them. And we need to know why we have these streets named for these people, and when they died, and when they served for us. And we have absolutely this, Robert Keith Whitman is buried in Highland Memory Gardens in Forest City. In one place there is an arrow saying that they were buried in another city, but they were buried here. This one is very nice, and that middle picture I put up online with just an anonymous, anybody know anybody in this picture? And that little baby there is 6 months old. And she squealed online. You could just hear her squealing, "That's me, that's me." 3 months later, her daddy died after he took off on that plane behind them. She has no memory of them. She tagged her mother, and her mother got on there, and she was so excited. And they had hoped to be here today. So this is, and that's 1966, and here it is almost that date again now. This was actually a Tangerine man. They put it down as Zellwood, which is kind of close. But this man was right here, went to school here. So you could have seen all these on the moving wall when it was here. Troy Durden, I believe that he was a friend of Francina's, and he's in the high school yearbooks. Jason Bosley Dwelly, we know that from Dwelly Road. This man was the reason I started this whole project with John Land about 12 years ago of dedicating these roads. His first cousin worked with me, or was one of my employees at the store, and she kept talking about him, and I'd see this whole row of T-shirts at the Memorial Day services, and I saw this man's picture on these shirts and his name, and I kept seeing the shirts, and she kept talking to me about her cousin and that he never got honored here in Apopka, and he went to school here all those years. And I talked with John Land, and I said, we need to do something about recognizing the men who died. And he says, yes, let's do it. And supposedly a person was assigned to do the job to dedicate streets instead of renaming them and causing chaos with the citizens and the business owners. And somehow the woman was no longer employed here and didn't do the job. It didn't get the job done. So this is another example. Why is Martin Street? And now we have a monument there explaining it, but how many people get out of their cars and go look at that monument? And Grossenbacher's the same way. You have to go a half a mile down the street, get out of your car on a corner, and go read the monument to find out. So the intention is to have down Park Avenue and Main Street on lights where people stop and park for 3 minutes waiting for the light to change. Ed and I've spent a lot of time talking about this, is to have that period of time where people sit and stop, and particularly on only certain streets where we know people lived or that has already been previously dedicated to them on those streets, is to give them the opportunity to have their name there, a dedication only. It's a different color from the street sign, so there's no confusion like other cities do. And in the future, if a name comes up that a family member of somebody says, my child lived here, my child went to school here, and they died, we can go and add one. But to our knowledge at this time, that's the full extent of this.
Thank you, Dr. Olmsted. Anybody questions? Good, thank you.
Just want to say thank you. You know, one of my favorite verses, give honor to whom honor is due. And this is really important. We can't forget the sacrifices that were made, and it makes us more thankful as a people. So thank you for doing the work.
And Fast Signs has them completely, we've budgeted it, we've approved the budget line, they can be produced within a month, and they're all ready to go. And then, it'll only take a short time. The VFW is willing to do a color guard, pick a Saturday to do it, and do distancing and video distribution of the dedication, and they can be up within probably a month and a half to 2 months.
Cool. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
All right, next up, human trafficking grant.
Yes. You should be seeing these signs around town. I started May of 2019 with this human trafficking signal. February of 2017, a project out of a Rotary District seminar came up with this signal, and we've put it into 15 languages worldwide. It's been distributed. Right now, it's in an international running activity for this month that you can go online and sign up, and then you get a t-shirt with this logo on the back with the instructions, so that when you're out running you can actually wear a similar logo, not this exact one, but you can participate and the money will go to help end human trafficking. We're not saying the police aren't doing their business. They are. They're helping rescue. But what this does is tell them that it's going on. But the more important thing is that the kids from your school, if they catch the bus to Orlando, or they catch the bus to Miami, those kids need to know this signal if they get picked up. If you go on vacation to Bermuda, and I'm not saying Bermuda is a hot place, but if you go to Bermuda on vacation and somebody puts something in your drink and you get abducted, you need to know this signal. If you're on 441 and you go to a restaurant and somebody's driving through town from a dangerous place, you need to know this signal so that if somebody does it, you can call the police and get them to come be rescued. Okay? Yes, it does happen in every city, and yes, there have been calls in this town, but we're not a hotbed, and we're not saying that. The purpose of this is to get them help and to help prepare your children in case something happens. And it happens at every age. The Philippines, I was on with the U.S. ambassador for human trafficking. I go on with him every month and for his seminar. And the one person who is the rescue agent for their country had a two-month-old that had been human trafficked. We had a city commissioner or a councilman for a California city who was trafficking women for their babies. He was bringing them to the United States, and it was interstate commerce, where he was bringing them to different states, putting 12 women in a room, birthing the babies, dumping the women, and selling the babies. That's human trafficking. A month after, and you can look it up online, a month after we came up with the signal, a woman was rescued from the blueberry fields out here in Lake County. It happens in the ferneries, it happens in the sod fields. So that's the purpose of this grant. And we have made this signal, and I want to explain what human trafficking is. It is the transporting, soliciting, recruiting, harboring, providing, or obtaining of another person for transport, for forced labor, slavery, or sex, using force, fraud, or threats. Those are the things it is. It's not just Orange Blossom Trail. And that's what a lot of people interpret human trafficking as. It's basically, they use the term modern slavery. Anyone can be trafficked. We've seen them very young, and we have seen them in their 90s. Anyone that can sit and stuff an envelope can be human trafficked. Or they can be threatened for their monthly check. You can find someone, or you can become someone. This is sign language for the letter H. Hold the H hand with your palm facing you so that your captor cannot see it. This is the sign language for the letter T. Hold the T with your palm facing the safe person so the captor cannot see it. And we say safe person because sometimes in some countries and some cities, the police are not the safe people. Are they the safe people here, sir? Oh, okay. This happens to be an MBI agent that I work with and an MBI analyst, and they're doing the signal for us. Victims may be a female or a male. Perpetrators can be female or male. When you see the emergency signal, do not react. Don't make a facial reaction. Don't get shocked. Quietly and discreetly go into a secret area where you can't be heard by the perpetrator. Call 911. This is an emergency if they make that signal. Out the side of a car door, in front of the perpetrator, to the side, behind their back. Secretly call 911 with that description. If they're not making the description, the signal, but you suspect it because of their behaviors and what's going on, then you call the 888 number. And this is the sign. So I'd like I've got tape on these already if you have a business or a place you'd like it. If you need more, I have more. I noticed that we don't have any, this is metal. It can be put in a room that has to be washed down like a bathroom. I have more to go. I noticed that the city restrooms out here don't have them. Each of the fire departments got them last year for their ready rooms and all. The parks, I'll show you some pictures where they're up in the parks. We do need to get them, make sure we have them up. We have them all different sizes and shapes. They were also co-funded by 2 other Rotary clubs on opposite ends of the town. We have them in paper for bulletin boards. We have the little business cards. These are some we put up. We have them in the VFW City Center. Well, there's, I think that woman's in here somewhere. Lorena, this was before she retired, when we first got the signs out, and there's someone from Advent Health. I've trained the Advent Health emergency rooms departments all over Central Florida. I've trained people by Zoom in 15 different countries, so in different continents. There's one of our firemen there with it. And I use like I say, the paper ones in places that aren't exposed to water, and then we have these metal ones that were designed for places that are going to be steam cleaned in bathrooms and stuff like that that have to be sanitized. And this was all before COVID. Now with COVID, we got to make sure we keep them sanitized. If you only suspect human trafficking, call that 888 number. Good descriptions, explanations. What you need to do is gather the information on the location, the people involved, and why you suspect it. You know, did they not let the woman or the man answer questions? On an airplane, did they not let them ask for the soda and they said what they wanted? Did they not do anything else they needed to do? And then call that 888 number, go on the website and support it, or text for help. Text the explanation, and I've called that, and we've got results.
Super. Well, thank you, Dr. O. We appreciate that presentation. Any questions for Dr. O on human trafficking? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I can leave my supplies of cards and things out in the lobby.
Okay, that'd be
And
great.
people can get them. And if
Awesome.
anybody needs a presentation, I can do it by Zoom.
Super.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Dr. O. Appreciate that. Okay, agenda review. Edward, any changes?
No changes to the agenda, Mayor.
Okay. Next up, public comment. Susan? Three.
Okay, so first up, William Gessler.
William?
William Gusler, 2101 Wekiva Oaks Drive. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mayor. I would like to respond to the comments that were made in the last City Council meeting regarding the merit pay. Our proposed budget has a $900,000 of reserve spending and a 25.25 millage rate increase, equaling an additional $892,000 in revenue from many of the people suffering from the economic effects of this situation. Tax increase or reserve spending, if it's needed to balance our budget and keep the city running, then it's warranted and necessary. In this case, I don't believe it's warranted and necessary to tax us additionally for merit pay. The comments contesting the budgeted 1% pay raise for all city employees made during the last council meeting by 3 Apopka officers was surprising but not totally unexpected. While it was stated that the vast majority, if not all, of the Apopka police officers in agreement, other Apopka police officers have communicated to the administration and council members that they are not in agreement with these statements. It is my belief that the Apopka Police Department, along with all of our employees, while not happy about a decrease in merit pay, understand the current budget situation and continue to work hard for all of us within the city. Out of more than 475 employees, it seems a few are either blind to the current situation or simply self-centered enough to ignore it. One can only imagine the 16% of our citizens that are currently unemployed would be more than happy with just a paycheck, let alone a 1% raise. Demanding a larger pay raise, having never missed a day of work without pay or suffered any financial hardship during this shutdown, suggesting that higher taxes and selling of city assets to fund it, using threats of engaging the city in litigation or collective bargaining as leverage to pressure the city for more money. As an interesting side note, proposing increasing this millage rate to fund a merit pay is interesting for the fact that 80% of our police officers don't live within the city limits and wouldn't pay it. That just doesn't sit well. For a patrol officer who's compensated at over $80,000 a year, who has averaged a 5.8% pay raise for the last 5 years, to come in front of the council and demand that it's a hardship for him getting no more than a 1% raise is unreasonable to me. The discussion in the last council meeting also raised the suggestion of increasing the police and fire department's merit pay above what is provided to the general employees. This is not only problematic by devaluing the general employees and their work in other departments, it disregards the fact that the fire and police departments are well compensated based on last year's salary survey, benchmark, and a specific schedule in the city charter based on their job descriptions. The argument that public safety positions are more difficult and carry a higher risk than other jobs within the city and somehow should be treated differently in this case falls flat. By design, due to their high-risk jobs, they are hired and compensated at a higher pay rate, excuse me, and have a vastly better pension plan than general employees. In 2019, the average compensation for public safety is $65,000, The average for all other non-degreed city employees is $41,000. The 1% raise represents a third of the 0.25 million taxes that we'll all have to pay next year, and 3% raise currently proposed in the budget would pretty much take up all of that. Budgeting more than the original 1% in the current economic environment is unwarranted. I would respectfully ask the council please keep in mind the hardship many of our fellow employees and citizens are facing, and consider that people that actually fund the budget are the ones who will feel the consequences of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gosler. Okay. Susan?
Okay. We have David Hoffman.
Good afternoon. I am David Hoffman. I live at Rock Springs Ridge, Tayside Court. The topic of my comments today is the land use metrics at Rock Springs Ridge as they were discussed at a July 20th meeting this summer at City Hall, which according to reports I and other residents have received, Rock Springs Ridge Homeowners Board President Rod Olson and member Michelle Chase attended along with Mayor Brian Nelson and newest city attorney Michael Rodriguez, along with unexpected walk-in David Moon, Planning Commission Director. Inexplicably, activist researcher Gary McSweeney did not attend. Apparently, Rock Springs Ridge representatives were unprepared for Attorney Rodriguez's surprising turn-the-road assertion that HOA board member Gary McSweeney's investigative report on the ill-founded land metrics used by the Rock Springs Ridge Golf Club in their bid to build and develop further at Rock Springs Ridge was an error. Attorney Rodriguez asserted that right now, whole cloth out of magic, Bob Del Russo, Chad Barton, and company enjoy the rights to build an additional 20 homes as a consequence of an RVLS maneuver in play many years ago, which allowed the building of 189 additional homes in Phase 4, which was an amended end around the original PUD limitation of 1 home per acre, all subterfuge. Because all the land in play to build additional homes was not used, this land use pretzel logic fashion can be transferred to other sites in the community, apparently. Thus, it appears that the city, through Attorney Rodriguez, is forwarding one malfeasance in play years ago as a foundation for another malfeasance going forward. In essence, an invisible bridge is being used to transport Rock Springs Ridge Golf Club to their desired building and development goal at Rock Springs Ridge. What empirical sources did Attorney Rodriguez use to try to refute Gary McSweeney's thesis? And most troubling is the view forwarded at the meeting that the city can validate these changes by administrative directive and thus bypassing the input from the community. What about this summary is an error? And if city officials reply that my impressions are mistaken, I invite you to provide clarity through detailed notes of exactly what took place at the critically important July 20th meeting. If the fate of our community hangs in the balance as a result of these behind closed doors discussions, we Rock Springs Ridge citizens, homeowners, voters, and constituents certainly have a right to know every detail. If my home, my family, our family legacy are under threat, we demand to know exactly what is going on and what has been going on for years, unbeknownst to Rock Springs Ridge taxpayers. And by the way, I'll say this in the very little time I have left. You know, I want to be wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want people to prove me wrong. Now, some of these details I may have incorrect because, truthfully, I've had difficulty finding out what happened. But yes, I'm passionate about protecting our community. And I would hope that city officials would be too. It's a beautiful community. So let's preserve this gem.
Thank
Would you
you.
not agree?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, is any of that true? Because that's news to me.
Where do you want me to begin? It's
Well,
not to sound facetious, but there's a lot of...
So here's where I would stand on that matter is I think staff is fully aware of how controversial this topic is every time this comes up within a city council meeting. So any changes in terms of interpretation of that PUD as it currently stands, development rights, whether there's applications submitted requesting development on that property, I've been very clear in my request to staff, and whether or not they feel that that's appropriate or not, of making sure that we're fully aware of it because this topic comes up pretty often.
Right. The current status, to my understanding, is that the owner of the golf course has submitted an application or intends to, or actually has submitted an application to change the future land use map of that portion of the golf course. I don't think he's changing it for all the portion they intend to develop. Changing the density from the residential estate, which is 1 unit an acre, to the residential very low density, the RVLS, which is 2 units an acre. Now, the way the golf course is developed based on the planned unit development agreements and the developer agreements, I think the last one was there was a third amendment. The PD has 2 future land use map designations, RE and RVLS. That exists. The PD has been approved for, I don't have the straight analysis, so if I'm off by a few numbers, but I believe the number is based on the overall acreage of the PD and the 2 future land use map designations on the PD. The approvals are for 1,340 units based on their densities. That is based on an acreage, which is RVLS, which would be vested for a set number of units based on its acreage and its density, and then the acreage of the RE and how many units it is entitled to based on its density. When we took the numbers of the actual units that are constructed within the PD, it's 1,320. So there are actually 20 less units constructed than vested for the overall density of going on the 4 corners of the PD and the land use designations within the PD. So theoretically, it's almost two-pronged. The golf course owner is one owner within the PD. As that property owner, he is entitled to the right to request a future land use map designation change for his property. That change alone will not grant him the rights to develop or to build because the property is zoned PD and is therefore bound by the developer's agreement, which is a recorded document. It runs with the land, and as the purchaser of the golf course property, he was aware that his property was tied in and bound by the developer's agreement. So just the simplest determination is if the acreage shows that it can accommodate that 20-unit shortfall between what is vested and what is actually built, in theory, if the application is presented as such way and we would review it, in theory, that could be an action that, yes, he may be vested with 20 units. In our meeting, I think where we were having a disconnect is that the residents seem to have stated that the overall density for Rock Springs is 1-to-1 and has always been 1-to-1 and can only be 1-to-1. But the approved development agreements and the approved comprehensive plan, the future land use maps on the property show 2 separate designations. There's 2 separate densities. And then therefore the density is got to match with those 2 future land use map densities within the boundaries of the PD. So what was meant, and it was a reference, that the city can administratively change. One of that reference came up. The way that the map is drawn, the future land use map is drawn, the boundary actually bisects certain properties. So there are certain lots within Rock Springs Ridge that have 2 separate densities. portion of the property is 2-to-1 and a portion of the property is 1-to-1. Those lines can be shifted and will not affect anybody's property rights because you will be going from a property that's 87% 2-to-1 to 100 2-to-1. But it doesn't mean you can now put an extra unit on your lot because your density is tied to the overall density of the development. So if you take away from one, you've got to make up for it somewhere else. So that's kind of it's a puzzle piece when you're looking at the overall densities. In order for an overall project, overall increases to occur at Rock Springs Ridge, there's got to be an amendment to the developers agreement, and that's going to require it to come before the council. Where we're in a question right now, and what is going to be at issue is whether one property owner alone can amend that developers agreement. According to the Land Development Code, amendments to developers agreements amendments to plan development zoning are subject to the same rules and regulations as to the creation of a plan development district. And one of the main requirements for developing a plan development district is that all owners within the boundaries of the proposed plan development district have to consent to the application. So there is question that whether one owner, in this case the golf course owner alone, may not be able to amend the plan development agreement in similar fashion as one homeowner within Rock Springs Ridge would not be able to amend the entire PD for all of Rock Springs Ridge. So that's what we have been analyzing, what I analyzed along with staff, which is that the piece of what you've got, that the overall densities for the plan development.
So my only feedback, and I'll close my commentary, is it sounds like you've all put a lot of analysis into this, a lot of thought into it. I'm honestly quite surprised that Mr. Hitt hasn't maybe aware that there's an application that was submitted when I kindly asked. I mean, this is the second largest community within Apopka. This thing has been heavy on our minds for past 5, 6, since the golf course closed. So to have this come from Mr. Hoffman in public comment and me just totally blind to this is just unfortunate.
Well, it just happened Monday.
Last week we had a conference with the attorneys for the golf course owners and their engineers. It was last week.
That's
and
fine.
There were
made a
questions.
determination that there potentially is development rights if all the cards are played right, and that's pretty big news to hear.
Well,
no.
Meetings back, you said in one meeting, I'm not going to forget it, you said any changes in what the golf group proposed to do, and I heard this gentleman, Attorney Rodriguez, say that they have submitted an application to change the density for the golf course property alone. Am I right? Is that what I heard you say?
I believe that is what the application is. Now, the city cannot prohibit anybody from submitting any application to the city, but again, we're in public comment, so
Yes,
this
right.
isn't a
No,
Q&A, and there's
yes.
nothing for the council to make a decision on today.
Right. It's got to go through the whole process. The DRC.
We've not been apprised of that. You said we would be. You said
Mr. Hoffman, we'll get it squared away.
And also,
No, we're
have a written report of all these facets, all these moving parts, so we know what's going on. That was the point of what I spoke to. This is not acceptable.
So, Jim, you want to come up and just kind of lay out what's been presented?
I do have a call into Rod Olson. We've been playing phone tag the last 2 days. We are putting the application together. I can send that application to you as soon as we have all the, I guess you could say, the parts together. As Mr. Rodriguez had put together, yes, it has come in. We're holding off on notifying anybody until we did have a talk with the applicant to make sure, number one, is that they had the correct amount of money set aside, that they had the background information. There was still a discussion regarding a potential layout. They are not going to be submitting that with it, although that's a normal thing that is normally done along with a land use, or with the land use and a zoning change. As Mr. Rodriguez had outlined, the zoning is PD, and in order to amend that, they would have to get basically either the HOA to sign on with that because it's part of the overall. So we do have the application. We are getting that ready to be sent out to the Development Review Committee, and
So the normal process, so it's
Correct.
DRC and
correct.
P and Z.
Yep, and I just
then
talked.
to the council, then to state, and then back to the council.
Correct, yes. It would, yeah,
So-
you have to go to Development Review Committee, Planning Commission, City Council for first reading and transmittal to DEO. And at that stage, then it would come back after that, and then it would come back to City Council for any other approvals or not.
Right.
We've got to go through the normal process. If City Council wants a copy of the application prior to any action, that's something that I think we can do. I just want to make, like I said, we hadn't even sent it out to DRC yet. So that to me would be circumventing DRC to send it to you even before they even get a chance to look at it. And we're putting it together, so. I hadn't forgotten about you, seriously.
Yeah, it just happened.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that Mr. Rodriguez didn't bring up, and as far as the amount of units, is would you want to talk about the 1-to-1 and the 1-to-2 as the one's over and one's?
Well, when we go over the overall calculations, because this isn't a case where the density here matches what's actually built. So yes, while we have 1 unit per acre, this isn't a case where we have acre lots where you have 1 acre lot with a 1 unit. This is a cluster development, so a lot of the units are clustered in, yet they still meet the densities. There's a question as to whether there is an overage in, I believe there's an overage in one of the densities, but an underage, if that's a proper word, in the other density. And when we were discussing possible administrative shifting to the line, it was just so that the corresponding number of units and the corresponding densities would even out. But that doesn't affect the overall density of the PD, which is actually below it's what it would be vested for when you calculate the overall acreage of the PD with the 2 corresponding land uses.
And therein
within
lies the
PD.
rub, right, is the interpretation of the acreage. And so the prior attorney's, well, the prior attorney's position was if somebody wanted to prove development rights, they would have to come with their own survey to prove that the acreage and the PUD was actually in fact correct, whereas the point of view from Mr. McSweeney, as well as looking at the PUD amendment, the 3rd amendment that's the most active, it's my hypothesis that the golf course acreage was double counted. So you're basing the density on an acreage that in and of itself is up for debate.
Well, the double counting of the golf course acreage was in the 2nd amendment. When we reviewed the 3rd amendment, the 3rd amendment actually corrected
Perpetuates it.
that, and it does now create the actual acreage being, I believe it's 1,100. 1141 as the actual acreage of the PD, whereas in the 2nd amendment, it had 1141 as the acreage, and then it carved out another 300 acres of golf course, which made it appear that the overall density of the PD be 1,400,
Correct.
but in all actuality, the density of the PD is actually 1141, and that is reflected in the 3rd amendment to the PD. So that's where I do my baseline calculations as to what would be the proper density is based on the 1141, not on the 1440, whatever the number is, that was reflected in the 2nd amendment. So the applicant would have to, in his application, I think the applicant has pretty much conceded that there, as currently reflected, there is no density for his proposal because he has to come in and change the density of the golf course to accommodate these additional units. Now, changing the future land use map alone does not get him there. All that simply does is it changes the land use. He cannot build the units until he amends the planned development agreement. And that's where there's certain issues that need to be squared away. Now, I think his intention is to split the application, so it's not, I don't believe he's coming in concurrently for both the future land use map amendment and an amendment to the PD.
Commissioner Smith?
Oh, well, I guess I have two questions. So how do you determine what part of the subdivision is 1-to-1 and what part is 2-to-1?
It's in our comprehensive plan. The maps clearly show which part of the PD is FVLS and which part, I'm sorry, RVLS, and which part is RE.
All right. Then my second question, since council wasn't notified, how did Mr. Sweeney find out?
He was on the conference call. Because they sit on the board, there's some sunshine problems between Rod Olson and Michelle Chase and McSweeney. So Michelle had to walk out of the room so that McSweeney could call in. Because they're both on the board, and so they've got a sunshine law issue as well.
And so that's how Mr. Olson found out as well?
No, he was there. It was Olson, it was Rod Olson and Michelle Chase.
So,
Michelle Chase walks out of the room so
And
that
Olson
McSweeney
comes
can
in.
call in so they don't have a sunshine law violation.
all right. And then, so how did Mr. Hoffman get the information? Well, not necessarily. I guess I have the same situation as Commissioner Becker does, is that public finds out things before we do, so then we're questioned, we're kind of in the dark, and we don't have no ideas what they're talking about.
Well, it's the same things we've been.
Well, whether the information, how the information leaked out that the golf course developer intended to submit an application, and so they've gone through the process of submitting the application. It's, as Mr. Hitt described, it's currently incomplete. They've changed what they were going to submit, and they've been speaking with staff as to what would be the proper submittal or how to approach the submittal of such an application. But I don't believe, and Mr. Hitt can confirm, that the formal application has yet been. A complete application is not in yet with staff.
You said it was completed before you said you changed it. Okay, Commissioner Bankson?
I did have opportunity, just this week, we had a meeting on some of the other issues, and it happened to come up, so I had a little knowledge that it was happening. It's kind of like, it's basically the car's not sanded yet, so we're not ready to paint it. There's certain things that aren't in order, so I think that's where the mindset was until there was a clarity on it to bring it to us. But again, for our standpoint, it's difficult to be caught up here with public knowledge on something that's that important. And I know you're newer to this. So having that knowledge that, hey, something's in the work, they're going to try and do things, because the bottom line, it still appears from my limited understanding on this that they still, as has been said, anybody can put in an application, but that doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. And, so I'm waiting for more of this process to flesh out so we can have that information to be well armed, for the decision.
Yeah, I was not in the meeting in July, but we did have a meeting actually yesterday afternoon, and that's where they said that the application that they want to submit, and I had already talked to him about giving a concept plan to help support what they want to be able to do would help. And I got off the phone this morning with the engineer, David Evans, who's working on behalf of the Del Russo, or the application itself, and they do not want to submit that as support to show that it could actually work. So they've got an uphill battle. It's going to be up to Planning Commission and City Council to say yay or nay to even get it to DEO. But again, I just confirmed it this morning. So the application, we're going to be processing that and getting the packet together, and I can send it to all of you so that you have knowledge. And that was my onus for the call to Rod Olson also, so that he can have a copy for Rock Springs Ridge HOA. I would have been premature to send it out last week when we got the original application in, when they hadn't confirmed, yes, this is what we want to proceed with. That's what we confirmed yesterday afternoon. I can't really do too much. I could give you a call and say, hey, we got an application in. It's not complete yet. We aren't really ready to go yet, but I thought that would not be actually correct. So if Rod got the information out to his HOA board or HOA members, he got the word out.
Any other questions? Okay, all right, thank you. No, we're done. Thank you. Okay, do we have anybody else, Susan? We come make an appointment, come see me, okay? Make an appointment. I'm happy to visit with you. I'll have him in the meeting. Come on, come on in anytime you want. I'm here. Okay. All right. With that, look at the consent agenda. Any of the items on the consent agenda anybody needs to pull off? If not, look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, let's see. Preliminary Development Plan, South Muse at Avian Point. Jim?
Just queuing it up. Oops.
Good afternoon, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager with the Community Development Department. Preliminary Development Plan details the construction of 102 townhome units on 13.9 acres within the Avian Point PD. Vicinity map shows the location of the PD. Aerial photograph shows the general vicinity of the area. It's primarily comprised of residential properties. And this is the location of the South Muse development within the Avian Point PD. The Avian Point PD allows for the development of 758 residential units consisting of single-family, townhomes, and apartment units. Consistent with the approved master plan, two-story townhomes and 6 and 8 unit buildings are with a minimum living area of 1,350 square feet are provided, and each of those buildings will have 1-car garages. 2 ingress and egress access points for the development are located along Grand Avian Parkway. That will lead into the development. The internal roadway network is comprised of private rights-of-way that consist of alleys and ordinary streets within the development. Pavement widths of 18 and 24 feet are dedicated for the streets and alleys. All proposed alleys and streets are located in tracts that are owned and maintained by a homeowners association. So there will be a master homeowners association and then sub-associations within the development. On-street parking is proposed on the internal streets. All townhome units are proposed as rear-loaded, with garages located in the rear of the units. The townhome units located on lots 1 through 16 will have frontage on Grand Avian Parkway. And the remaining units will front on a Muse, which is an internal common area that is owned and maintained by the homeowners association. All elements of the preliminary development plan are consistent with the approved PD master plan. The DRC recommends approval and staff recommends approval. We'd be happy to answer questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay, any questions for Bobby?
2 quick questions. One, the rear load garage or the driveways are per code, right?
Yes,
Land
sir.
development code. And then secondarily, and maybe it's just this is a unique one, but I don't remember seeing a whole bunch of these in other plans. The profile of the street, like it was very specific about how each street was. What's the point of having that in such detail in this one?
They did a preliminary development plan. Typically, the preliminary plans are about 60 to 70% engineered, so they will basically carry that over to the final engineering. It's the designer's preference, my understanding.
But I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary for those street profiles and
No,
and
sir,
such?
it's consistent with the PD.
Because they vary from street to street. I just,
and
from my own
applicant's here to
understanding. Yeah.
Answer that too. So.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Name and address for the
Frank
record.
Porter with NV5, 201 South Bumby, Orlando, Florida. Yeah, the preliminary plan normally doesn't have those profiles, and we did it as part of the engineering calculations for the overall fill of the site. So they were included in the construction plans, but normally the preliminary plans wouldn't have those in there, but they're typical roadways and slopes.
Okay. So I shouldn't read into it. It's just.
Yeah, you'll see them again on the final development.
They're within
plan.
code, within
Yeah.
our, okay.
Any other questions for applicant?
What's the status of the school concurrency agreement?
This one, parcel B3, South Muse, will have to apply for concurrency. They'll do that prior to plat on this one. The other two, the single family and then the previously approved townhome, parcel B1, already has school concurrency on this. So this one is not ready for school concurrency because it's preliminary development.
Okay.
But it has the capacity mitigation agreement.
Yes, and they worked all that out with the PD, sir.
Okay. All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to approve the preliminary development plan for South Muse at Avian Point.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Edward, are you, Collis?
Business item number 2 deals with roof replacements that we've got. And if you recall from the last council meeting, I talked about how we have 2 roofs that are an emergency situation. Let me go back real quick and give you an update. So what we've done is we went out to solicit. We solicited RFQs so that we could get somebody under contract in the future, so we would have somebody for roof repairs, roof replacements, that we would be able to work from on, over the next 3 to 5 year period. So we've done that solicitation. It came back yesterday. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. By the time we get it awarded, bring it to the council and get it awarded, it's probably going to be around October the 7th, somewhere in that period, by the time everything's reviewed. Well, as you know, we've had some severe thunderstorms recently. We've had some leaks in our public services building, and our station, Fire Station 3 is also in emergency repair status right now as well. So we kind of had hoped to wait to see if we could get through that process so we could have some competitive bidding. So what we have done is we got with the building official, Scott, our building official, went out, he surveyed all of our roofs, looked at all of our roofs, and to tell us which ones are actually in emergency status, which ones do we need to get done right away, ASAP. He came back and told us Fire Station 3, and of course the Public Services Complex building also needs a new roof on it. So the other roofs that he was able to, he looked at the other roofs, City Hall, the Annex, a couple other little roofs that we have, and said that we would be okay to get to the solicitation. Once we award the solicitation, then we can take whoever we award, whoever those contractors are, we can get quotes from them to do it through that competitive process, that bid process. So in the meantime, what we did was we looked at the people who were interested in bidding on this RFQ. That would give us an idea. So we reached out to them, had them come do walkthroughs. They did walkthroughs, and they solicited bids similar to what we would do once we award to the contractors, to the RFQ to the contractors, so that we could make sure that we were getting a good price. So we got those quotes, went over all those quotes. What we're asking, staff's asking to go ahead and enter into an agreement or contract with Collis Roofing. They were the lowest bid to do both Fire Station 3 and to do the Public Services Building. And we want to get them on contract. We want to get them as soon as possible, because as soon as we can award it to them, we can get them going, get those roofs started right away. They think they should be able to start within 30 to 45 days, maybe 2, 3, I think 3 to 4 weeks, have them completed. So that's what we're asking for in this item. We're pending insurance requirements. We will make sure we have insurance requirements from Collis. That's what we're going through now to make sure all of that is up to par and where it needs to be. So with that, we're asking for, staff's asking for this emergency designation. We've done everything on our part to make sure that we've gotten the best price, but we have 2 roofs that we need to go ahead and get those 2 replaced. And if you recall, both of these were budgeted. They are within budget. So with that being said, we would like the approval of the.
Any questions for Edward? Okay. Not anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll look for a motion to approve the emergency contract for Collis Roofing for the replacement of roofs on Public Services and Fire Station 3.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2785.
Ordinance number 2785. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described lands situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Beckwood Real Estate Development, LLC, located north of West 12th Street and east of South Hawthorne Avenue, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. Phil Martinez, Planner 2 with the City's Planning Division.
The applicant is proposing to annex approximately .41 acres located north of West 12th Street and east of South Hawthorne Avenue. The subject property is highlighted in yellow on the right map and currently consists of a single-family home. This proposed annexation is in accordance with Florida statutes and the joint planning agreement between the City of Apopka and Orange County. The Development Review Committee recommends approval of the annexation for property owned by Beckwood Real Estate Development, LLC, and the recommended motion for this afternoon is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 2785 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on September 16th, 2020. This concludes my presentation, and the applicant and I are happy to address any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Phil? All right. Rogers, you want to come up? Or you good? Okay. All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 2785 at first reading and hold it over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2790.
Okay. Ordinance number 2790. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, consenting to the continuation of Orange County South Apopka Area 11 2018 Municipal Service Benefit Unit on land recently annexed into the City of Apopka, Florida, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and setting an effective date.
For the record, Phil Martinez, Planner 2 with the City's Planning Division. In conjunction with the previous agenda item, this is a request to consent to continue the existing Orange County streetlight agreement that takes place on 1109 South Hawthorne Avenue. Attached to the staff report is ordinance number 2790, as well as the county street lighting agreement, formerly known as South Apopka Area 11 2018 Municipal Service Area Municipal Service Benefit Unit. A lovely name. And the recommended motion for this afternoon is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 2790 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on September 16th, 2020. This concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Phil?
Just real quick, dumb it down for me, because I read these things in detail, but I got lost in it. At the end of the day, what's the decision that we're making?
I certainly got lost as well. And I'll let Chuck go ahead and review the day.
Commissioners, basically the county has an MSBU like we're doing in our neighborhoods.
Mhm.
They have one in that area.
Ah, okay.
So this is allowing them to continue it with our consent, but if we ever continue to annex and decide to do a citywide MSBU, then we can cancel.
Okay, so see, it was a perfect segue for your conversation. Okay, good.
Thank you, Chief. All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve ordinance number 2790 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution number 2020-16.
Okay. Resolution 2020-16. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collecting a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the Martin Place Phase 2 Neighborhood Improvement District in the City of Apopka to fund emergency repair services, facilities, and programs maintaining and upkeep of the common property to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the residents, providing that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 1973632(3)(a), Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Maverick?
Basically, this is the second reading for the acceptance of the resolution to engage a MSBU for the repair of the pond. My understanding is they're in the process of fixing to put the sod down. So at this point, we have no additional changes. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions? Okay, good. Anybody from public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve resolution 2020-16.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Commissioner Smith, just to let you know, I did go ride through the first phase. The lady brought up the trees in the first phase.
Right.
There's very few trees that actually abut to, that we would be responsible for. Most of them are on private property. There's a couple that are close, but most of them are private property.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Susan.
Resolution 2020-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collection of a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the Oaks at Kelly Park Street Lighting District in the City of Apopka to fund street lighting services, facilities, and programs, providing that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 197-3632(3)(a) Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Again, this is the enabling resolution for the lighting district. There's no changes. There was a question that came up, or a concern about letting homeowners know. These are older ones, so we couldn't get it in, but I did talk to planning staff, and we're going to ask the future developers to put in their HOA documents that there are MSBUs in these particular developments in the future, just so the council knows and they're aware.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll look for a motion to approve ordinance, or resolution number 2020-17.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2020-18.
Resolution 2020-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collection of a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the Bridle Path Street Lighting District in the City of Apopka to fund street lighting services, facilities, and programs, providing that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 197-3632(3)(a) Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
And there's no changes to this one either.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2020-18.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution number 2020-19.
Okay, resolution 2020-19. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collection of a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the Avion Point Street Lighting District in the City of Apopka to fund street lighting services, facilities, and programs, providing that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 197-3632(3)(a) Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
No changes on
No
this one,
changes.
Mayor.
Okay. Anybody from public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2020-19.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution 2020-20.
Okay. Resolution 2020-20. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collection of a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the Oak Point North Street Lighting District in the City of Apopka to fund street lighting services, facilities, and programs, providing that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 197-3632(3)(3) Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Any changes?
Answer any questions if they have.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2020-20.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution 2020-22.
Okay. Resolution 2020-22, A resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to use the uniform ad valorem method of collection of a non-ad valorem assessment for properties lying within the residence at Emerson Park street lighting districts in the City of Apopka to fund street lighting services, facilities, and programs, providing that a copy of the resolution shall be forwarded to the property appraiser, tax collector, and the Florida Department of Revenue in accordance with Section 1973632, paren 3, paren A, Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
And just some background on this, this was supposed to come in front, the development plan was intended to come in front of y'all today. They got held up with a couple pieces of paperwork, so I'm ahead of them. You will see that development plan come in front of y'all at the next meeting, I've been told, but I didn't want the council to say, I don't remember this coming through.
Yeah, because the title would suggest that it's Emerson Park, but an existing, but this is residents at Emerson Park.
Yeah,
New
residents at
development.
Emerson Park, if you remember where they put that assisted care facility, it's right next to that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 2020-22 at first reading and hold over for second reading and final approval.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, the Citizens Advisory Task Force recommendations. Dr. Jackson?
Mayor, Council. On August 5th, we brought to you the Citizen Task Force recommendation to pursue a community block grant for a housing rehabilitation program. The second public hearing is for you all to actually approve for us to submit the application. Today we have with us David Fox from Fred Fox Enterprises, and he will be providing you all with additional information.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm David Fox with Fred Fox Enterprise. This is the second public hearing for a 2019 Community Development Block Grant application. Proposed application is in the housing rehabilitation category. The proposed project consists of repairing and replacing a minimum of 11 low to moderate income owner-occupied households within the city limits. The total household income of occupants of 2 of the 11 has to be between 0 and 30% of area median. The total household income of occupants of 3 of the 11 has to be between 30.01% and 50% of area median income, and the last 5 remaining must be below 80% of area income, median income. The City of Apopka is incorporating the minimum green standards and supplemental green standards recommended by the Department of Economic Opportunity in this application and in their housing assistance plan. There is temporary location associated with this project included in the application. 100% of the beneficiaries will meet the low to moderate income household criteria. Thus, the national objective benefit to low and moderate income persons is realized in this application. The activity and budget is as follows. The total grant amount proposed is $750,000. Of that $750,000, $615,500 is for housing rehab, demolition, replacement. $22,000 is for temporary relocation, and $112,500 is estimated for administration. In addition, we have calculated a proposed $50,000 of leverage of local funds into the application. If we complete 11 homes and there's funds remaining, we're proposing that you keep addressing homes until funds run out.
Any questions for Mr. Fox? Good. All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to accept the recommendation and approve the application submittal.
So moved.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2020-25.
Resolution 2020-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, authorizing the mayor to implement the long-term and short-term objectives of the City of Apopka Community Development Plan. That's it.
Mayor, the additional resolutions that we are about to present are just customary with the DEO application, so we're just going to go through them. So this is just outlining the short and long-term goals that we have added to our community development plan.
Any questions for Dr. Jackson? Okay, anybody from the public here to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve Resolution 2020-25.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Resolution 2020-26.
Resolution 2020-26, a resolution authorizing the adoption of a housing assistance plan in conjunction with the submission of an application for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant in the Housing Rehabilitation category to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for federal fiscal year 2019.
Okay. Dr. Jackson,
Any questions in regards to this
any
resolution?
questions? Okay. Roger, I need your help trying to find some houses. I know where we can get some houses out there. So obviously, it's got to be a homeowner. They have to be in the house for over 6 months or a year. Yeah, and it's basically a 10-year look back. So as long as they stay in the house for 10 years, it's basically, it's a grant.
Right.
And if they sell it before that, then they would pay that pro rata share back to the grant. Yeah, so we just need people that qualify for that, those grants. So we definitely want to, if we get the money, we want to use it, and we want to use it, as quickly as possible. So,
Correct.
good.
Would this be able to be applied towards enticing those who we've wanted to see go ahead and annex in, such as the project you're working on? I know it would be beneficial to get more in, or do they have to have already been annexed in before this time?
They have to live in the city limits.
But I mean, if,
At the time when they apply.
When they apply.
when they apply, so if.
So they have time.
So we might be able to approach some that it would be to our advantage to have more on that street, some of the things we've discussed, so, okay, thanks.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 2020-26.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2020-27.
Resolution 2020-27, a resolution authorizing the use of $50,000 of City of Apopka funding as leverage for the Small Cities Housing Rehabilitation Community Development Block Grant application. The city is submitting to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for federal fiscal year 2019, providing for an effective date.
Dr. Jackson?
So in this resolution, it's just outlining the leverage that we are offering to the state of the $50,000, and we are receiving additional points in our application for providing this.
Okay, can you come up
25
and tell-
points.
Yeah, come on up and, just so that everybody hears that, because we want to make sure that they.
I'm sorry. Once again, I'm David Fox of Fred Fox Enterprise. You get 1 point for every 2,000, so you get 25 points for up to the 50,000 maximum. You can exceed the 50,000 in leverage, you just don't get any additional points.
Okay, great, thank you. So points being that, so we higher up on the list, so, okay, good. All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to approve Resolution 2020-27.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2020-28.
Resolution number 2020-28, a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for federal fiscal year 2019.
Dr. Jackson?
All right, so I've worked closely with David and Melissa to supply all of the items that we need for our application. I believe that we will be ready for submission by October 5th. So, are there any other questions?
Any questions for her or for Mr. Fox? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to approve Resolution number 2020-28.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, City Council reports. Commissioner Thanks.
I'll keep it shorter because we had some length at the beginning of the meeting. Just a question. I know there's been talk and discussion and desire. You know, we've walked through some challenging times with our with what's going on in our nation concerning our police, and I'm so thankful and grateful we have such a tremendous department here, and that our community has not done what we've seen mirrored in other places. Question being about a community advisory committee. I know it's against regulation, basically, to have an oversight, but I had heard that there was some talk about having a community, basically an input. Has anything more happened along those lines, Chief? Community advisory committee that would be gathered to basically, give input of their perspective of things they'd like to see.
I know that Commissioner Smith brought it up a couple meetings ago. Since then, Mr. Rodriguez and myself have been doing our research as far as what that board would look like. There's some statute regulations, there's some Attorney General opinions that we're looking at to determine how that board would be done. I'm not opposed to the board by any means whatsoever, but we are doing some work on it. It's going to take us a little bit more time to look at the ordinances. I think we got ordinances from numerous cities around the state to see what their boards look like. Most of them are just advisory boards. There's some Attorney General opinions that we have to look at, and like I said, some case law we have to look at too. So, okay.
Okay, yeah, and I think I was gone that particular meeting, so.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes. I just want to make sure that, Dr. Jackson, we mentioned at the last council meeting that we want to make sure that if this grant, or when this grant is awarded, that code enforcement is also online to notify these residents if they have some violations, that there's a possibility they can use some of these grant fundings to rectify that. So we want to make sure that that continues to happen. Also, just want to inform the council that our president of the Florida League of Cities, Commissioner Ortiz, appointed me to the Land Use and Economic Development Committee, and our first meeting will be September the 18th.
Any details on Billy Dean's service?
Yes, Commissioner Dean, for those of you who don't know, he moved to his eternal home last week. His services will be this coming Sunday at 2:00 p.m. at the First Baptist Church of Orlando. There will be a viewing at the Marvin C. Zanders Funeral Home on Saturday from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. So viewing at Marvin Zanders Funeral Home from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, and the services will be at 2 p.m. at the First Baptist Church of Orlando on Sunday.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Will be missed for sure. Okay, Commissioner Becker?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo my thoughts I put out on social media after I learned about Commissioner Dean, and it was saddened to hear that. I just want to reach out in case Isadora is watching, that she has our support. And it's funny, I put the little anecdote on there that I don't know if Billy actually knew my first name, right? I think the first couple of times he called me Carl or something besides Kyle, and I just. We sat up here and we debated points in a healthy fashion on many occasions, but it was always met with a firm handshake and a generous smile afterwards. And I really appreciate him, his spirit, his voice, his booming voice that he had, and he'll be missed. So I wanted to send my condolences to his family. Commissioner Smith, I want to say congratulations. I got the invitation in the mail here, being appointed to the FFA Hall of Fame, so congratulations to you. And then I'll table my other issue, because I know that we're talking about street surfacing on the next topic, so I'll just table.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I actually did have another thing here, but this is my first hearing of that, and so I'm kind of gut checked there. And again, our condolences go out to Isadora, and he was just an amazing man, and I really enjoyed him. He and I had a great relationship in a good sense, and sometimes on disagreeing side, but he would always needle me on the length of prayers and just remind me that they don't have to be long to be effective. So, but he will definitely be missed, and I'm just going to save this now for next time.
Okay. Okay. All right. Edward Bass.
Mayor, this section under my report is about the street resurfacing.
Yeah.
And Jeff Weatherford, our new Public Works Director, Public Services Director, is going to present.
Put him under the
this
fire
item.
right out of the gate.
Right out of
eh?
the gate.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to talk to you, update you on where we're at with our current overlay program for this year. I'd like to take the liberty of kind of introducing a concept to you, the 3 R's of roadway. And not reading, writing, arithmetic. I'm an engineer, so I can't spell. They are repair, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. If you think about a roadway like a car, repair, turn signal bulb burns out, fan belt breaks, you make the repair. Rehabilitation is the things you do to make the car last longer. The oil changes, the tune-ups, new tires, that type of thing. And reconstruction is what happens when you don't, or reconstruction would be replacing the car, which happens when you don't take care of it. So the overlay program is really our rehabilitation program. And the question is, do we just change the oil, or do we do the oil change and the tune-up, and how in-depth we go for the future? Currently, we have 196 lane miles of roadway in Apopka. This program for this year will rehabilitate 4.5 miles, or about 2.3% of our roadway. That if you look at that, that means we will be getting to all of our roadways over about a 43, that's if we maintain this level of treatment, which we're not going to be able to do this next year. It will take us 43 plus years to basically rehabilitate all of our streets. I'm pretty sure most of us, would like to do that more often, but that's where we're at right now. How we choose our roadways that we're going to resurface, that we're going to overlay, rehabilitate. In the past, I'm going to oversimplify this, and Mr. Bass will throw something at me here in a second, that in a lot of ways it was the squeaky wheel method. If enough neighbors got together, said our street is really in bad shape, and made enough complaints, then it would make its way onto the list and move forward. What we've got proposed for this coming year is to go out and actually measure the condition, have a consultant come in and measure the condition of every lane mile of roadway in Apopka and score it and give us basically we'll be able to sit here and say Street A is in worse condition than Street B, and be able to come up with a systematic way of resurfacing the roads. Not there yet, but that's where we hope to get to. For this year's program, it was brought to you, I think it was back in March or April for approval, and then I know the contract recently came up, but we're actually moving forward with it. So far in the last week or so that they've been working on it, they've completed 8th Street between Park and Central, Michael Gladden Boulevard between Park and Central, 10th between Park and Central, M.A. Board Street between Washington and Hawthorne. This week, they're working on Hawthorne from what was going to be 441 to 7th. We've kind of had to stop that at 2nd, and I'll explain that in a little bit. 5th Street Parking Lot Alley, Orange Avenue from Central to Hawthorne, Arrow Parkway, Old Dixie to 441, Lake Piedmont Circle, the entire circle, and Revita Woods Drive, where it extends from Piedmont Circle, or Lake Piedmont Circle down to the end of the street. Those are either underway right now or will be starting under this week. That next week, they're looking to finish Lake Piedmont Circle and start on Sheila Drive, Lake Francis Drive from Vic Road to Arrow Parkway, Vic Road from Lester to Welch Road. Some of that will be done at night. And then the following week, the 20th through the 26th, they'll finish Vic Road and start on Welch Road from Vic Road to Rock Springs Road. So that basically, all of that work's going to be completed this month in September. We've had to postpone the section of Hawthorne between 2nd and 441 while we look at it and see whether or not there's some other improvements we can make on the drainage system before we do that, because we don't want to go in and repave it and have flooding and deterioration right away. And we also had Second Street from 441 to Hawthorne that was on there as well. That right now we've postponed while we look at it, but we think we may have passed the rehabilitation stage on that, and that, you know, it's gone beyond being able to just go out and do something temporary. It may have to be more extensive work. So that's kind of where we're at on that program, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And
Any questions?
So Mr. Hippler, can you punch up those pictures? I just want to put in context of where my head is at on this stuff, because again, to your point, sometimes when we're in this job or our plan is in place, we have to be able to pivot in order to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And just in terms of prefacing the pictures that I'll show here, you talked about stopping the repaving effort because there was some flooding issues and things like that. And so I'll bring up a specific example. So we're talking about Hermit Smith. I know that this has been a unique one, right? The resident has had multiple interactions with the city over the course of many administrations, many public services directors. So there's just a level of frustration going into it because it's dragged out for so long. So Hermit Smith, you know, and thanks to the staff for embarking on the survey, the engineering study, and all that sort of thing. And there was certain findings that came as a result of that. But at the end of the day, I think what staff had proposed was kind of like 5 things that were in scope. You know, adding some chevron signs up there on that curve going up northbound and southbound, reducing the speed of that intersection, putting some roadway, putting some striping in. And so I had the opportunity to go by there about a week, maybe a week and a half ago, and just see the general road condition in its normal state. And as you're going through this, the most dangerous part of this curve is the curve itself, right? And when I drove through that stretch, it was completely covered by soot, soil, dirt, whatever, as a result of coming off of a private resident wash-off. So I totally get that piece. So one of the things that we're going to do is do the striping, but again, not addressing the root cause of why that road is dangerous. And so I want to understand and calibrate with you, because the pictures here, to me as a layperson, the roadway looks like in a state that maybe wouldn't support long-term holding of paint when you restripe it. And then in fact, after the road was cleared yesterday night, I drove by there, it was completely swept off, but we had that heavy rain last night. I went by there at 7 o'clock this morning, which is this picture. All the striping was done up until that point, but again, even if we restripe that roadway, all of that sediment and sand is just going to cover right back up and really defeat the purpose of putting striping down to begin with. And so what I'm asking staff to do is, let's solve the washout issue and the drainage issue, and whether that's a city responsibility, a homeowner responsibility, Orange County, because I think all 3 players are in the mix on this thing. Let's sit down and come up with a game plan, because that's just not going to cut it, right? I mean,
you're correct that when it rains, there's soil washes out there. The pavement condition itself is in fair condition. I would not classify it as poor. It's certainly not good or excellent, but it's in fair condition. That the thermoplastic striping will adhere to that type of pavement in that condition. It does not change the fact, you're absolutely right, when the rain comes through, then the dirt's going to get out there and it's going to cover it until it's either cleaned off or wears away and such. The striping will remain. What I'd mentioned to you yesterday is that I think that it's still worth going out there, that the striping crew came out last night, started doing it. They recognized that, okay, we can't go through here. We've got it coordinated that tomorrow morning we're going to sweep and they're going to follow right through there. The striping will still remain and it'll still be okay while we work towards finding a solution with the property owner on how to prevent that discharge, that runoff coming from his property that's creating all that silting on the road. I think, and we also corresponded through email about whether or not the road should be resurfaced or not. It's not in this year, next year. It may be when we get the scores that this thing may pop up. The striping will last that long. The striping typically on a road like this, you'll see it last probably 5 years or so under normal conditions and such. So it's worth doing the striping and continuing forward that. Obviously, it's worth doing the signing, which will be installed in conjunction with this over the next week or two. And such. But I think it is
because
worth
I
doing
mean,
the striping.
where I feel like I've got to stay engaged until the flooding and the washout issue has been, because now this issue is my issue because it is, if you go by there, it's an unsafe roadway. And so we've got to make it safe, whether that's repaving, solving the drainage, or solving the washout, it's just got to be solved.
I would argue that, where I understand the concern with the silt, and I understand that, hey, it can obstruct some of the striping and such, I would argue that it is still safer with the striping than without. I do agree we need to work on that discharge, and we are looking to move forward on that. But I think that as an interim, product that we do need to do, I do think that continuing with the striping project, it'll be there when we solve the other problem. It will, that you can see where there is dirt in your picture and such, it doesn't completely obscure the entire middle of the road. It moves
Actually,
back and forth.
if you go to that next picture from the alternate view, that's completely obscured. I mean,
I can't really tell with the glare there.
I've been out there twice in the last 24 hours. So.
I can't really tell with the glare. I know that last time I was out there after it rained, that there were still spots where you'd be able to see the striping come through.
Right.
And I think having striping out there, whether it's covered with the dirt or not, is still better set of conditions for when the dirt is not obscuring it. So I do think it's worth finishing the striping job. I understand your concern that we are going to pursue a cure for that dirt driveway that's washing into the roadway and into the right-of-way.
Okay. Mr. Baxter?
Yeah, actually, the very first thing I asked when I was first elected, first term, was if we could get a priority list for streets. To me, safety is number one, and like unto it, is our infrastructure. And so I'm thrilled that we're looking at that in the sense of, penny wise, pound foolish. If we put things off, then, remember the old commercial, pay me now or pay me later. It's more expensive, certain things that are pushed off. So that's real tough in a difficult, challenging year. But I really like seeing the fact that if we'll do preventative maintenance, it will save us much more down the road. And then having a prioritized list, then we can just start attacking it as we're able. So I'm pleased that we're moving that direction.
Mr. Smith?
I'm going to assume you say you was holding up on 2nd Street from 441 to Hawthorne. I'm assuming that's the street that goes in front of OK Tire, behind the hotel?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct? Okay, good. I'm glad.
I know it's the one I drove down right after getting here and said,
Yeah, there's 6 feet of water there when it rains.
Right.
So we're going to fix the drainage problem as well.
First.
Look at the
You've got to
drainage.
fix it first
Okay.
before we do the road. Yep.
Thank you.
it makes no sense to put down a brand-new roadway surface to have it only be used by submarines.
Right. Thank you.
And it doesn't last as long when we don't have the drainage
No, sir, it
fixed.
does not.
So, and one of the things as we go forward, it's just kind of at 40,000 feet is, gas tax continue to go down because the better fuel efficiency of cars. So, as we look at the infrastructure tax, it got put off until the 22 election. Maybe that's at the point where we start to be able to get, additional dollars for our street, repaving. But, that's, how much, our gas tax was down.
Like 11%, Mayor.
So, and it's
Big.
Yeah, I saw it in the budget.
so it's tough. So we got to,
So Mayor, you need to buy one of those older vehicles then.
gets about 8 miles a gallon.
Yeah, that
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Mayor, I'd like to make one other comment too. And for those that are viewing or whatever, at 5:15 at the budget hearing, I want to go through those lines and show you how, if you recall, I've been saying that the Streets Improvement Fund is the fund that's struggling the most right now. But we'll go through that tonight during the budget hearing, so you'll be able to see all those pieces. And I do want to say one other thing, and again, I will say that tonight, but also for the benefit of those viewing, that I think the timing is good for the study. This is a year where, revenues are down. We're paving those roads that Jeff talked about that we've had a lot of issues with, from potholes to water problems, like Commissioner Smith was saying on 2nd Street, to try to fix the ones that were in emergency needs, that we're having the biggest issues with right now. So I think because this is probably perfect timing, those dollars are down 11%, perfect timing to start that study, get that study done, so that when we do recover and maybe the infrastructure tax, depending on how that goes, we'll have our plan in place and we'll be ready to go and we'll be able to share with everybody that this is our list and this is what we work from. So I think that's a good plan. Because it'll take a good part of a year to do that study, to do every road, every mile, the condition of everything. It's going to take and we want to get a really good company and make sure that we do a really good job so that we have that list for the future. So that being said, on the financial side, so we have another month, as you can see, August, which is for the collections of June. Keep that in mind. This is June's activity collected in August. You can see that the number's a lot better than we thought it would be. Whoops, that's not where I want to go. So you can see that we thought it'd be about a 50% reduction. It was only about 25%. You can see it's only 25% or $305,000. So if you look on this schedule under the revenue sharing column, you can see that they adjusted the revenue sharing back in the months of, let's see, this is May, June, and July. There was a reduction in the overall projection that we normally get. Well, and we don't have much of an explanation other than they sent us $488,000. So, and we have put that in the bank. So the last month, and as I report next month, on the final month of the year for September, that's usually the year where the month that they catch up or true up the revenue sharing. So that in prior years, that's always been a higher number because they've trued up their estimate. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe they've already started to true up a little bit in August. So it'll be interesting to see what that September number holds. But you can see that overall, about $913,000. And last year, we collected over about 1.1 additional. So the good news is kind of thought it would come in at 50%. It came in at 25%. So overall, right now, we're sitting at about a $1.9 million loss in the sales tax revenue with still a month to go. So I just wanted you to have that update. And we continue to watch all the numbers for this fiscal year so that hopefully when we get to the end of the September year, we'll have some positive information for this fiscal year.
Any questions for Edward?
So you're saying it's possible we can get $1.2 million next month?
I can't say that, but you know what? I wish you'd come with me. You need to come with me sometime and let's go on. Let's work some budgets out. Because Commissioner Smith, I like your thinking.
All right. Thank you, Edward. All right, next up, Mr. Rodriguez.
Actually, I'll just stay here, 'cause it'll be short. It's short and sweet. We have finalized the agreement on the Advent Health sponsorship agreement, which you approved in March of 2020. The language has been finalized, and we're sending it back to Advent for their execution. We've executed it on our end. So I just wanted to give you that update.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Mayor's report. Real quickly, the COVID, you can see there's this one big spike, but that was just due to a data dump. So things are trending in the right direction, looking really good. And hopefully we'll be out of this and be back to normal. So next up, sidewalk update. Interesting, I've got some numbers for you. We're out driving around and Pam Richmond, we were looking at a sidewalk or lack of a sidewalk would be the north side of Pond Can, just east of Vic. There's a new neighborhood going in that there's a sidewalk missing. And so without the sidewalk, then those children will have to be bused to school. They can't walk to school. So I think it's a perfect example of where we could use, can you pop that up for me? Okay, I'm sorry.
You've got 3, Pam.
There you go. So it's is that it? The next one, okay, yeah, so there you go, there's the spot that we're missing on that road, on Pond Can, that would connect both sides of the sidewalk. So it's an opportunity for us. I mean, for me, I know there was a lot of people that were a little nervous about the advertising on our utility boxes, at the intersections, and rightfully so. I think everybody would agree that the advertising is discreet, and it's obviously something that you're not unproud of having on a street. So anyway, we've collected 2,000, and I think by the end of the year, we'll have collected a little north of 12, but next year, they've kind of given us projections of $26,000 in revenue from these advertising boxes. So with that being said, that little stretch is going to be about 80,000. So obviously it won't pay for all of it, but I think it pays for over a third of that sidewalk for us to connect it. And so then when I said, well, this is a perfect start for our using our advertising dollars to really help our community. So then we reached out to all the schools in the area, and we've got a couple other schools that have said, hey, I've got some sidewalks that would help my walking students get to their schools. I think it was one for Dream Lake and one for Apopka Elementary. So I just thought it was just something, that everybody would like to see, and, to realize that, we've got, I think, a revenue source. Obviously not going to do everything we need to do, but it will supplement what we've already got in our sidewalk funds. And so I'm pretty excited that here's a perfect example of how these dollars should be used. And I think we should all be proud of that. So, Pam, thank you for that, helping us out on that. Next up, just interesting, got to go out yesterday with Robert Agrusa and Melissa Bird from the school board to go to Randall Construction. And they now have turned a building, it was an old maintenance building, into a school. So it's a technical school for kids, 11th, 12th graders. And what they're trying to do is take those kids that are at that marginal 1.5 to 2.0 that still have enough time to get above the 2.0 to graduate, but are obviously struggling. And so what we showed is that 8 students in the program now, looking to go to about 40, but they want to make sure they get the kinks out of it. So they come in the morning and they work, they do their studies, and then in the afternoon they work 3 hours in the afternoon and get paid $12 an hour for Randall Construction. So they can walk right to their job. So it's really a neat program. So we're going to kind of follow this along and see how well they do, and obviously want to support their program and what they're doing. And so what a great collaborative effort between OCPS and Randall. So pretty excited about that.
So does this piggyback?
And I had an opportunity to also go and visit the site.
Okay.
And they went through each department that they have and all the different businesses they have under the umbrella. It's an outstanding program.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Mr. Becker?
No, I was going to say, does this kind of piggyback off the comments that Jeff was making when he was here the last time in terms of that vocational effort that they're going through as well? So is this kind of in concert with that?
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm very interested in seeing where that goes. I mean, it sounds like something, because we had a conversation after that meeting, and what they're trying to do sounds like a worthy effort. And it's not, post-secondary stuff we've talked about for quite some time here, and I think a joint venture, a vested interest in that would be a good decision.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, and then last but not least, we have our 9/11 service will be out at the 9/11 Memorial at 8:30 on Friday. So for anybody that would like to come out, we'd love to have you out there. Obviously social distance, but will be memory of the folks that we lost on 9/11. So.
And will our tech department stream that as well?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yes. And we've got Miss Apopka's coming to sing, not the national anthem. We've got the kids singing the national anthem. She's singing, I don't even know if we know which song, but anyway. We will see you back at 5:15.